debunking the myths about Black people. Um, in our conversations individually and together, we heard discussion about Blacks abuse welfare. Black people hate the police. Um, there is this idea that racism is over, right? Barack Obama made it to the White House, so you know what? Anybody that says racism is still around has an agenda. I'm going to start with Dr. Lacey and give everybody a chance to just discuss what are the greatest myths that need to be addressed so that we can better understand the African American experience. And that means starting with Cherie, Attah, and then Sherita. Please feel free to speak your heart and share with us what this means to you.
Well, I'm going to start with understanding that Black people, we have family members who are also police officers, and they are struggling on both sides. One is they made a decision, a choice to protect and serve. And their job right now is hard. And they're family members. So I'm concerned about my family members. On the other end, I'm not against police officers. There are so many good police officers. And so I think that is the myth that we hate the police. No, we hate corrupt police. We want people to stand up against the policies within the constructs of the police department. We want them to reform. We want them to be treated as criminals when they do a criminal act. We want them to suffer the same consequences for murder that any person in America would endure. That doesn't happen. I have family members who are protecting and serving every day, and their lives are on the line every day. But my family members aren't corrupt. And this myth that we all want a handout and we all want someone to give us something and we're lazy. Well, if you look at the statistics in welfare, the majority of the people on welfare are white people. Mexicans are not the majority. We are not the majority. And there's this assumption that we're lazy and we don't want to work. That's what we've been fighting for years, to be able to have establishments allow us to work. And so we try to start our own businesses. And then we have blocks, or we don't have the full support, or we can't open a store in this neighborhood. And so there's this myth that we are lazy and we want a handout. I work hard for the things I get. It's not an easy ride for me. My husband, he works hard daily. And this myth that we're thugs, my husband is far from a thug. I don't know thugs. I know people. And if you want to call someone a thug, why is it only people in the Black community? We're not all drug addicts, and it's just like whenever there's something bad, it's the Black people. As if there are no white drug addicts, white alcoholics, white murderers. These are all myths. And I think they're myths because they want to believe them. There's no one that can tell me that all white people are racist. I don't believe that. And so how is it that I can believe that? But I've experienced such racism, but you can't believe that my family members are not thugs. You can't believe that my family members are not burglarizing your homes. And you seem to think that we all have baby daddies and that we don't have, family units. And because we live in the hood, well, here's the truth. that house in the hood was a grandma's house, and then grandma died, and now it's the family's house that everyone went to, everyone grew up in. So that house is the family's house. It goes to grandma and auntie, and then it passes down generations. That house has memories, and it belongs to us. We own it. Why would we sell our house? Why? And so these are myths that I you can't really dispel them, because it's people are going to believe what they want.
I like to think I'm a very level-headed person, um, and it really takes a lot to kind of get under my skin. But in various times where I've had conversations, I can't tell you. There's been a couple of times where I've had, different of my white brothers and sisters say, "You're just another angry black man." I'm like, what? So there's this understanding that black men are just angry, and it takes a little bit to just get them off. Um, that's out there, like Dr. Lacey said, that we hate all police and all of that, and not true, right? It's all about seeing the statistics and wanting better. I mean, as you said, there's statistics for all of this. Statistics that show the number of black people that are killed versus white or Latino or whatever, and it's significantly higher. You can look at our jails and look at who's in there. You can look at the sentencing and how it's different. So there's all these things that are facts that you can literally go online and find, that people just don't take the time to do. And so because of that, I think it goes back to speaking to my point that building relationships becomes so key. I've shared with you before, I'm not from here. I was born and raised in Nigeria and spent the first 18 years of my life there before coming here to the US. And so I had stereotypes in my head as well, because the same way people have stereotypes of Africa here from what they see on TV or in movies and blah, 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 of kids that are all just, malnourished and flies in their eyes, and that's the image they have. We had images of what African American culture was like here as well. So you see all the gangbanging movies and all these different things. And so I came into this country with stereotypes, and I had those mental models in my head until I started to build relationships with African Americans, and I saw what the family unit looked like, and I saw how mothers took care of their families, and I saw strong fathers that were examples that I've looked up to and that have mentored me as a father, and everything in between. But it took building those relationships, because not everybody's going to take the 2 seconds that it'll take to go online and find some statistics that show you why there's anger, why there's hurt, why there's a push for change, why we want the structure of policing to be different. But people will have conversations. And so for me, there's so many of these things, and you don't have to do the hard work, if you will, if research is hard for you. Build relationships as a way to help you to start to reframe those mental models that you have in your head of what a black person is. This angry person that wants to riot, that believes black lives are more important than everybody else, and wants to live off the government, and wants to just, I don't know, sow their royal oats in any way, shape, and form. So that's not who black people are. And I encourage people to build some relationships and find out the reality.
Thank you for bringing up thugs. It reminded me of the lyrics of Tupac Shakur, thug meaning the hate you give. Our people are not thugs. However, you sometimes become who people constantly paint a picture of. That's who you are, based upon societal ills. But another myth, and Attah and Dr. Lacey both alluded to this, like, we don't hate the police. I mean, I have a very close friend, Dr. Shaw, and I do call him my friend. He is the as we call it in the community. He is the popo. And I love him. I have family members as well and friends who are police officers. So it's not that we hate the police. We love the police. We just dislike those that step on our necks. You know, we want the same treatment that our brothers and sisters of the lighter hue gets. That's all. Serve and protect us. Give us the same treatment. I also want to just briefly talk about the myth when, and I think Dr. Lacey, you alluded to this, about that Black people are lazy and we just need to get a job. It's not that easy. Let me just give you a quick story. When I moved back to Grand Rapids from, where was that living? Oh, when I moved back from Virginia to Grand Rapids, I had a bachelor's and a master's degree in social work with a concentration in community development. And I had experience. So I had 2 degrees and years of experience in the field of social work. And I had 72 denial letters as I was trying to get employment. Was I lazy? Or was I not afforded the opportunity? And when I say 72 denial letters, I had 72 denial letters without an interview from organizations and institutions here in Grand Rapids, Michigan. 72. And I began to question, like, what's behind that? Oh, and then I realized I need to change my name because my name is Sherita, Black. Oh, and where did I get my degree from? A HBCU school. So let me change my name to Marie, and perhaps I can have an opportunity to at least have an interview. If that we are lazy and we don't want to work, that is not the case. The issue is the racism, there's systemic racism within our institutions that denies people of color the opportunity for employment based upon our name on a resume. And there's been numerous research that's been done with people with the same skills and everything. But if that name sounds like it's a person of color, then they're going to be denied access. And I was denied access even to an interview. 72, I still have all those denial letters. 72. So it's not that our people are lazy. So please stop that myth. That is a lie. We want to work, right? We went to school to work, but just because we have an education does not mean that we're going to be given access to equal opportunity for employment.
There's this myth that Black people get all the scholarships. I'm here to tell you it's not true. I have an 18-year-old on her way to college this fall, and we've applied and applied and applied, and she's gotten no scholarships. And so there is a myth that we get all these scholarships, and it's just simply not true. And when you talk about equal opportunity in businesses and organizations, I work in human resources. And I tell you, it's based on who's in that office, on who's going to get that interview, and who's going to, help the decision to be made on who to hire. It's not uncommon for someone to see the name on the resume and bypass it and say, no, I don't want to interview that person. And then you say, why? And there's no real justification for why. And so when we say there are systems in place, a person is part of a system that's in place. So if you put someone in a position to make hiring decisions that has a lens that isn't culturally intelligent, they are going to look for people who are going to engage in groupthink. And so they want someone that looks like them, talks like them, thinks like them. And that is not uncommon. You tend to draw towards people that look like you But when you are an institution or an organization and you have someone sitting in that seat that's going to be biased to who they are, guess what your organization is going to look like? Them. And guess who are going to be key people in that organization? Them. And guess how that organization is going to build their policies and systems around the way they think. And there won't be any diversity in the organization or in the practices of that organization. And so this is one of those systemic things that organizations will say, we don't have policies. No, but you have people who hinder diversity. And it's as simple as just saying, I'm going to interview these three and not these three. And they all have the same credentials. Or you select, or you post a job in spaces where there are no Black people. And we all know that churches are segregated in many forms. With race, with culture, they're segregated most of the time. You have some churches who are multicultural, but that really means they have a sprinkle or two of that different race, a sprinkle or two. And so what happens is you just end up building, sometimes it doesn't help. When you have people who hinder, and you can be in that space as a Black person, and you can try to open everyone up to the possibilities. But then even if that person gets the interview, that judgment has already been made when they walk through the door. And you can easily discount someone from a job in the interview process. I always recommend a panel of people so we can all give an input. And it's interesting to me when I see people downplay someone they don't want. And it isn't really a good reason. Oh, they really didn't dress for this interview, did they? What did you want them to wear? So it's those little things they'll find. Someone said, too much. What? It's an interview. They're nervous. So I try to debunk those things. It doesn't always work, and it's hard to be in my space sometimes because you have the other end. I'm going to only hire Black people.
Thank you so much.